Fantastic. Hi, everybody. I'm Timur Yarnall. I run our AI ML business development team at AWS. We are a team of ex-CTO co-founder and ex-CPO co-founders. We're not a quoted sales team. We just help startups navigate the AWS ecosystem. So we're happy to help any founders navigate and talk through. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Grace and a little bit of my personal background. I am the son of a psychologist on my father's side, actually a really famous psychologist. My dad was the Mr. Rogers of Turkey, actually, so he was really famous. And then on my mom's side, I'm the son of a self-taught mainframe programmer. So my mom was a single working mom in the late 70s, early 80s, with shifting careers, and she actually started to teach herself assembler and got accepted into a training program and became a mainframe programmer. So that's kind of me, split between philosophy and tech. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of maybe philosophy. You can bear with me for a second, and then we'll kind of get into some tactical points. Grace, I have 10 minutes? Okay. What's that typical apology? I'm sorry if I run long. I didn't have time to make it shorter. I first met Grace, and I think part of the philosophical question is, can an AI have grit? And what is grit? And I want to say I first met Grace maybe 9 months ago and was just really impressed by her vision and the community she had built for the podcast. And one thing about me is I love being at events. I hate planning events. So as an engineer, I hate planning. It's always like stressful and crazy. And I said, Grace, why don't you do these for us? We'll sponsor you, and you can take it off. And so now the actual culmination in seeing this happen is pretty fantastic. So I don't know if an AI can have grit, but Grace, you definitely have it as a founder. So at AWS, and for me in general, so this is not an official AWS position at all, but speaking maybe a little bit philosophically, and then we'll kind of get into some tactical points later about the panels and what we might want to look at from an AWS standpoint. I'll do a quick poll of the audience here. Will kind of get me to my philosophical point. It'd be kind of joking. So you have to raise your hand for one of two things here. So you're either going to raise your hand for Star Wars or Star Trek. So if you had to choose one, how many would choose Star Wars? Okay. And how many would choose Star Trek? All right. So I'm more of a Trekkie. And I heard a great quote from a speaker who said, if you're a Star Wars fan, you probably feel like there's an evil empire always looking over you, and the world is about to end, and you've got to fight the rebellion, right? If you're a Star Trek fan, you're part of the Federation and the planets, and there's a force for good, and the computer behind you is great and is a helping hand. So let me ask a different question, and then you can self-assess, is there any correlation between that one? So if you have to raise your hand for one of these two, also, the question is going to be, do you believe that AI is going to replace human capability or augment human capability that you're going for? So how many would say it's going to replace humans? All right. Too shy people in a minute? Okay. And then how many would say augment human capability? All right. So I'm in that bucket as well. I mean, I'm doing this and I'm running AI MLBD because I believe that we're going to augment human capability. I personally believe that's probably tied to my background as a Trekkie, but that's maybe a little bit off topic. And that's what I am passionate about here, and I think we have an incredible chance to drive this ecosystem and actually have a bit of augmenting human capability and what can we do with that. And I think sometimes in Silicon Valley we might lack that a little bit. So one of the reasons that I chose to sponsor this is because I think Grace brings some of that dialogue to the table, and I think the community that has that discussion is going to be much more effective in terms of what we can do. So next, maybe talking about the rest of the day and more tactically what we're going to look at, huge issues in terms of what's happening with AI today, and it's not just about compute and tokens and like the latest models, even though that's really important. And just to put it out there to any founders, No, Victor and I from my team, we can't easily get you more access to Sonnet 3.7 tokens. Those are really hard to get right now. So the number one thing I would love to hear from a founder is, can you help me find a way to be more compute efficient? The things I hate to hear from a founder are, can you just get me cheap GPUs and get me cheap tokens? Because that's really hard to get right now, so we need to be more thoughtful. But in terms of the key themes here, as we think about how we're applying AI, I think we're kicking off where we have a lot of dialogue around security and cybersecurity. I, as a four-time former co-founder, one of my third startup was in cybersecurity. It was actually in bot detection. So in 2012, I launched a startup that was detecting bots in advertising and social media, kind of way before Elon Musk was talking about the impact of bots on Twitter. And seeing security today with AI, the potential and the threat, I don't think there could be a more crucial topic. Just yesterday on CNBC, I saw an article about the threat of fully fake employees, right? Not just fake applicants, but fully fake employees. And something like the estimate from the security company is that every tech job posting is getting over 1,000 fake job applications from North Korea and China right now, because not only can the email and the profile be faked, but the actual live Zoom interview can be faked as well. So think about what could happen if you actually hire someone remotely, give that entity access to your corporate systems, and onboard them as an employee. Like that's the level of cyber threat that we're dealing with. I don't know if I see her right now. She's staring at her phone. But Anna, can you raise your hand? We've got our AWS cybersecurity expert there. So one thing I will say about AWS and Bedrock, our primary model access platform, I'm proud that we have made security the fundamental offering point since day one, like since way before it was important and sexy. Bedrock has made model security and lack of usage training data the most fundamental part of our marketing, even at the point when our own salespeople were saying, well, they just want the latest and greatest models. We're like, nope, security actually has to be a core part of the offering. So I think that's important. Next, I know we have a whole platform on agents. AWS, we actually just launched an entire new division on agentic. So Swami, who was our VP of data and AI, has now just become our VP of agentic. So that's the level of shift we're seeing when AWS creates an entire division on agentic, and we know the future workforce is at least partially, maybe more so, digital workers. You know, what does that do for security, but what does that do for the work that we're doing? So I know that panel is crucial and important. Again, I am of the optimist camp where I believe we're going to be augmenting human behavior. And if you just take one example, customer support, I believe that the vast majority of customer support experiences are so dreadfully awful that if we can make agentic support better, we're actually going to improve everyone's life. I use the story. We've all flown so many millions of miles, but I think I'm on 2 or 3 airlines. I'm a million miler on Delta, and 3 weeks ago, like trying to change a flight at the last minute, I mean, I literally could not navigate to change my flight or get anybody on the phone. And it's literally, I'm like a million miler customer. So just improving that like 20% with an agent would be phenomenal. Then I think the broader dialogue around responsible AI, ethical AI. One of the reasons as a multi-time co-founder, AWS is by far the largest organization I've ever been part of. Being on a Slack channel with 2,500 people talking about responsible AI and safe AI is a lot, and we pick up a lot, but it is first and foremost in our mind. So yeah, with that, again, I wanted to just turn back and say thank you, Grace, for bringing this community together and for having me on the podcast. I think you and I brainstormed about this. You had the idea, but we brainstormed about it like 7 months ago. So it's really neat to see the reality and the vision. And I think I'll be introducing the next speaker is from actual SVB. Great. Thank you all.